What's going on, guys? Bonafide Hustler here, and welcome to episode 2 of How to Garage Sale for Profit. That's right. So, in this actual episode, I'm going to give you 3 solid tips, and then we're going to do a Q&A. Or maybe we'll just do a Q&A, 3 solid tips, and another Q&A. Either way, it's a very laid-back show. I think you're going to really enjoy it. And if you didn't check out episode 1, that is sitting on my channel. It's a public video, and you can go back and check that out. 3 totally different tips. We're definitely not going to go over those tips, right? We're going to do 3 different kind of tips, and we're going to be talking specifically about garage selling. Now, one of the things that I do is I always like to make sure there's a mic check going on, that I sound good, that you guys can hear me, because that would suck to go through an entire show, guys, and not be heard properly, right? The second thing is, I want to make sure to do these shows on, Thursdays or Fridays. And it's right before the garage sale weekend. Well, if you have a strong Friday in your town, sorry, right? But usually garage sales peak on Saturdays. Saturdays like the main day, right? And so I try to do these shows on Fridays, right? This is the second one. And if you're really enjoying the show, it's so important, okay, to hit the like button. That way I can kind of see like this is a series that needs to continue on my channel. All right, so we have 18 people watching now in the live feed, and I would like to shout out some names. If you do happen to find this, it's usually around 1:30 on a Friday, all right, on the Bonafide Hustler channel. If it's not on Friday, it'll be on Thursday. So I want to make sure that everyone understands that there's some days that it might have to shift because, certain things change in everybody's lives, especially my life. But I'm going to make sure to do episode 3 and 4. We're going to keep this thing going to make sure that you guys are fully prepped for garage sales on a Saturday morning. So I want to shout out some people, first of all, that, I really like to see in the feed. I've seen these names before. So we have Bill Sigmus. We have, or Sigmus. I've seen the name before. Garage Flips. What's going on? The Amazon FBA eBay Treasure Hunter. Now, that is one long name right there. What is going on? Good to see you. And we have Jimmy Him. Seen that name before. Oh, everyone's asking about this new guide, by the way. So yeah, we have Taught to Profit, Body Comp, What is Going On, and Sam Kirker. Lots of familiar faces in the room. A lot of eager people. So I got to first shout out, to everybody. You guys are wanting to catch this live. I really appreciate it. That means a lot, right? Because you can catch it later, and you just don't get that Q&A kind of feel. Although I'm pretty sure if you watch it later and you're not live and you're just watching it now, which will be later, kind of weird. It's kind of like an Escher portrait that I just did. That you'll still find that there's some really good Q&A in there, and that my 3 tips are pretty solid tips for you, okay? What's up, D. Roper? Good to see everybody in here. I want to make sure that who's going garage selling tomorrow, first of all. I got 29 people watching right now. I get so pumped up about garage sales, guys. Like, I just love them. And a lot of people will ask me, at your level, Bonafide, and you handle the green room and all this kind of stuff, like, how come you're not moving into like private label or wholesaling or some of this other stuff? And I got to tell you real quick, I love the hunt of goods. I just like finding goods. I think it's fun. I find that I'm good at repetitive stuff too, like FBA, retail arbitrage, but I don't know. I don't quite feeling of brain power or worth as I do with garage sales, or I don't get the same amount of happiness as like a Saturday morning where I just don't know what I'm going to find, but I know that when I come home, there are going to be some amazing things in my car or maybe in my booth, because, I'm a bona fide hustler and I don't bring everything back home, right? On the videos, you get to see most of the stuff, but there are a lot of things that don't make it to the videos that are just already dropped off. So anyway, and here's a good remark. Garage flips, you'll never beat the margins at garage sales. The only problem is, the argument to that is like, you can make astonishing margins, but you can also make astonishing margins with FBA and retail arbitrage, and you get to replicate that, as long as the actual arbitrage opportunity still exists. And that's becoming one of the more scarier and scarier things about retail arbitrage, is that the price erosion with ROI and everything, it's getting kind of tough. That's not to say that I don't include FBA with garage sales. Now, if you guys are out there watching this for the very first time and you're like, what the hell is this guy talking about? What is FBA? Fulfillment by Amazon is a service that Amazon provides where you send off goods to them. They store it in their physical location, which are their warehouses, and then they, it allows the item to be marketed, or you get to basically be on a listing that gets seen by millions of people. people while they're, while you're sleeping, everything. Someone can be on Amazon, like buying your camcorder, buying your lotion, buying all kinds of stuff that you've sent off to Amazon. And for that service, there's about a 30% cut out of the entire sales price that Amazon's going to take. But they also have the Amazon Seller app, which allows you to see kind of how much an item will be once you send it off. So you don't have to actually theoretically buy it, then check and see if you made a mistake or not. You can actually figure all these things out before. So yeah, it's one of those things that I involve FBA with my garage selling quite a bit. And there are plenty of amazing things at garage sales that you can pick up that are completely destined for FBA, okay? So I don't want you guys to think when he talks garage sales, he's only talking eBay. When he talks garage sales, he's only talking like, 100% ROI or less, right? That's not true. There are many things that I send off that are like in the 500, 800, 1,000% ROI category, right? And some of them are very short tail, not even necessarily long tail items. So garage sales are great. I love that comment. That came from, where was it? Garage Flips. You'll never beat the margins at the garage sales. Garage sale margins are great. Now, the reason why I think people like this kind of content also is because garage sales are everywhere we go, right? I mean, they've been there since you were a little kid. Your parents probably went to them. Now, they might not have done the garage sales to the extent that we do garage sales. And the reason why we do them is because we want to make money. A lot of time people did it to just accumulate more stuff for cheap in your house so you didn't have to buy it for new, right? But here we are. We're acquiring stuff for our personal lives for cheap. And we realize that there's a market to resell it at. And those markets might be eBay, Etsy, Amazon, Antique Booth, Craigslist. There are a ton of markets out there. So if you're sitting there going, I'm not finding anything for any of my markets, you're doing something wrong. All right. So yeah, garage sales are super. I mean, garage sales are hand-me-downs sometimes. There's plenty of mint and barely used things and new things at garage sales as well. You can find total gold at garage sales, guys. Total freaking gold that is destined for either eBay or Amazon. We're talking 1,000% or more, ROIs. That kind of stuff is common, okay? Let's talk now about the first thing I want to get with. We have 3 tips. So that's how the show kind of goes. 3 really solid tips, and then you guys can, we can do a Q&A and everything like that. So it's good to see everyone. We have someone here from Europe, Felix Bywer. Let's all congratulate Felix, man. This dude's all the way from Europe. I'm doing a huge garage sale in Europe tomorrow. Man, that is nuts, dude. That's amazing right there. So very, very cool. And honestly, to if you're looking for the same kind of thrill as garage sales, just not the same kind of like, you get a one-punch thrill with garage sales, right? You commit 3 or 4 hours of your life on a Saturday morning, you get this like huge like thrill, and you can make, it's very easy to make somewhere between, on average, that's hard to say. I mean, I think last weekend I cranked 6 or 7 out of last weekend. The weekend before that, maybe 6 or 7, and the weekend before that was like 1,400. And then, so, it's very easy in a short amount of time to crank out a very large amount of profit. Plus, you get the thrill of the hunt, which is really cool. If you want the kind of same thrill, but not as concise, and there's no guarantees. Like usually with garage sales, there's guarantees you're going to find something, right? You can do thrift stores, right? Thrift stores are also places where people just do hand-me-downs and donations and stuff, but there's some great goods in there. Problem is, the staff at thrift stores are now getting smarter. Typically items aren't going to be as cheap as garage sales. There's no haggling at thrift stores, but they do have coupon cards and stuff like that. So, but you get kind of the same thrill at a thrift store too, right? Let's face it. Let's be honest with each other. So, what's up, Tyler Davenport? Good to see you. And okay, so let's go into the first one, which I called the pre-party. Okay, now take it back to the days where you're like, I don't know how old you guys are out there, and there's probably some youngsters in here. There's probably some 20-year-olds in here, 30-year-olds, maybe some 40-year-olds. But think back to like pre-party days, man. What is a pre-party to you guys? A pre-party is getting all jazzed up for like the final event. Okay, and a pre-party, the same kind of thing happens with a garage sale. In a pre-party atmosphere, when you're dealing with actual partying, right? You probably, doing alcohol, drugs, whatever you do, right, to get yourself in the mood. You buy some cool swag, some cool clothing, nice shoes and everything like that. You already know like how much cash to have on hand, all that kind of stuff. And then you go to the club, or you go to the strip, or you go wherever, and you party your ball. I was gonna say party your balls out, but there's some females in here, so we party our balls and our ovaries out. And basically, that's what it comes down to is. You've set yourself up for a nice successful night. So that's the same thing with garage sales, guys. With garage sales, if you don't do any pre-partying, guys, if you don't do any pre-partying, then you're at the mercy of the day. You're at the mercy of not understanding where your fullest potential is. You're at the mercy of all the competition kicking your butt. I mean, completely destroying you. But anyway, yeah, a pre-party is very, very important. So this is kind of how the Bonafide Hustler pre-parties, and this is how any of the real professionals that I've ever rolled around with like pre-party as well. So first one is pre-party with research, okay? And research can be usually done 2 or 3 different ways, and sometimes even a 4th way that might, some people don't even know about the 4th way. But the first way obviously is Craigslist. Craigslist is good because a lot of other apps run off Craigslist. If you're the kind of person who wants to do really solid pre-partying, okay, like super solid pre-partying, then Craigslist would be your best friend. I don't need to explain any more than that. You go to the garage sale section, you can search for all kinds of amazing, amazing things. The only reason why I can't give you, to the nitty gritty detail is because it is in our next guide that we have coming out. But I will tell you that Craigslist it trumps everything when it comes to garage sales, okay? So all the apps that are built around it, gsaler.com, yard sale, these are things that are running right off Craigslist, and the metrics and all that. It's all off of Craigslist. So if you want to go OG and go nuts, Craigslist is the way to go. Okay, it's not as friendly because you're actually, scrolling and this and that, whereas on some of these other apps, you're just hovering over a town and you're clicking a dot. Maybe you label it a different color so like that in my first stop or whatever. You can do routes and stuff in some of these apps. And when you deal with Craigslist and a handwritten list, which I'm known to do here and there, I did it a lot last year. I started moving towards the app a little bit, and now, quite honestly, if you watch my Periscope this morning, I might start moving back away from the app and going, what, I think I'm just going to go old school again and start doing serious pre-partying, Bonafide Hustler style. So that's the bad thing about Craigslist is it's an antiquated, it's slightly outdated, but it is very fast. It's a fast site, right? Because there's really hardly any images until you get into the actual text and you get into the links. So it moves fast. It's easy to understand. And you can get a lot of information from pictures, right? So just because you're like, I don't like doing Craigslist, some of these ads have a picture of the sale or 4 or 5 pictures of the sale. And you can tell a lot from those pictures, whether you want to put this thing on your list or not, right? So just make sure that you use what's appropriate to you, what you like, but just remember that all these other apps that are coming out, and every app that comes out is probably going to run off of Craigslist, unless there's some sort of website that's propelling other people to put in their garage sale listings in there, and then it goes into that app, but that hasn't been found yet, right? Everything is going off of Craigslist, and some do it better than others. Yard Sale Treasure Map will do it slightly better than gsaler.com, or gsaler.net, whatever it is. Yeah, Andrew Alvis just hit the like button. I saw that comment. I like that. So yeah, Craigslist trumps. So pre-party starts with Craigslist if you want to do it the right way, okay? 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper. Sit there, maybe, try to have zero, not many distractions, and think about the next morning, okay? This is the first thing you want to do. Big town, small town, doesn't matter. Think about the next morning and you're like, man, what do I really want to find? Like, what do I really want to find? What do I care about? You can use a search bar on Craigslist. You can start doing it that way. Also, remember that when you're doing a pre-party, that you want to think like, where are the places in town to avoid, like general areas. And even though something might sound super good in one bad area, like you just gotta remember certain things. There's a bad area for a reason. There's an area that has people that buy cheap stuff for a reason. It's because it's mostly cheap stuff. So if you want to make the real money in garage selling, you're going to want to get around quality homes, quality neighborhoods, quality people, okay? And this and that. You're going to want to get around that. Now, the negotiation is going to be a little harder in those places because these are more educated people a lot of times. And by more educated, I mean they just did better in life, so they could afford a better house, and they're in a better neighborhood. They just did better. Their brains are working at a much more efficient level than some other people, right? So when it comes to quality, they're not wasting their money. They're just like, they're not buying things that break down in a year or two. They're buying really good things. And so when it comes to a garage sale, really good things usually carry really good resale values when it comes to any of the other avenues you want to use, eBay, Amazon, whatever, And that can be said for anything, whether it's a bike, freaking bread maker, juicer, electronics, anything. There's always a generic crappy thing of everything out there. And the generic crappy thing typically has zero to little resale value. So when you're going garage selling, guys, you got to think like, if you want money, you gotta think really hard about it and go, you know what, money is where quality people lie. That's what it is. So Body Comp says, I would like to get better at figuring out the rich neighborhood. You know, sometimes it takes, I can tell you, right? I mean, there's I know Austin, I can dissect Austin down to like whatever you need. I mean, it's insane how much I know about this town. And the same kind of goes, my second town I would know a little bit about would be Houston, because I grew up in Houston. I know the rich neighborhoods. But usually when I roll to Houston, I have someone help me out down there, because at this point in the game, I've created so much content that when I go someplace, then someone's always like kind of willing to like show me around and like do the right thing, you know, and they know how my style and everything. So, I guess that's one of the perks of being Bonafide hustler. But anyway, so yeah, prep research. The second thing that you can prep a little bit, but quite honestly, I don't know if you can prep that much for this, but product knowledge. Okay, so always don't go. It's kind of hard to say this, but you definitely want to go to garage sales knowing about main things. Okay, so there's always something in I write about this in my first book. But there's always something in everybody's life that they cared a whole lot about, all right? And that's if you were to ask me the same exact, like, what did you care about back in the day? What do you know too much about? And I would say, look, I know a pretty fair amount. I know too much about bikes. I know too much about remote control cars. I know a fair amount about video games, and I know a whole lot about outdoor stuff and goods and sporting goods. I just know a lot about that. And that's a lot to come to the plate with, because as soon as you go to any garage sale, it's almost destined I'm going to find one of those 4 things there. But you got to ask yourself that same exact question, right? And that question, you know, just sit there and reflect and go, what do I really care about? Like, what do I actually care about? And then do a little bit of research on that kind of stuff, okay? Because if you I care about ripped jeans and like looking cool, then you know, that's going to be a tough one, because there's a lot of jeans that don't sell very well, but you're going to have to memorize the good brands and all that kind of stuff. If you want to look good, you got to memorize the right kind of boots that everyone's buying and all that kind of stuff. You know, but think down to like certain other things, like what do you like in your life? You know, is it a Vitamix mixture? Is it, start knowing like what you actually care about? Do you care about working out? Like, can you spot a good rower versus a junky rowing machine? And I say a rowing machine because you can make crazy money on a rowing machine. But anyway, not many people flip them. But think about what you care about, the things that were in your childhood down to your teenage years to whatever. There's certain things that you cared about, and you're going to have to reflect and start researching a little bit on those things. So that's very, very important. Okay. You can also do product knowledge by, and I'm, you know, selfishly going to say this right now, but this is a very good guide, right? That 4 very seasoned garage sale pros wrote this guide. I was one of them. But you can get this down below right now for free. You can put it on your PDF on your phone. It's amazing. Get you also on an email list where you get a bunch of other amazing content. Plus, you get on the email list and you can get a pre-order of Garage Sale Killer, which is the newest guide we're having out. That's coming out August 8th. If memory serves me right, it should be about $7. I was in charge of a large majority of the project, but when it came down to the actual marketing of the project, I didn't play any role in it. So, but anyway, so there's 2 real good guides that I think that are really gonna benefit you. This one for sure is available right now. So get on the email list, and this thing will be in your phone. Study the crap out of this guide, okay? And actually, you know what? Funny thing is, the rowing machine's actually in here. I'm not even kidding. It's in there. So, you know, study this guide. It's very important, okay? And I guarantee you're going to find something from this guide tomorrow at garage sales. Second guide, that's amazing, but no one knows about it yet, is the one coming out on August 8th. It is called Garage Sale Killers. It's basically, the premise is how to kill it at garage sales. And it's a very, very inexpensive guide. $7, dude. If you can't turn that $7 into thousands later on, there's something wrong, okay? So it's a bunch of amazing, it's all condensed, amazing tips down to one guide. And it's 50 pages long in Word, and it's got really crazy stuff down from Eric the college picker, who's been garage selling for forever, myself, you know, forever, and we got Young forever, and then Rakin, probably garage sale for the past 4 years, and all that's in that guide. So it's concise. It's a good place that you could hunt around for it for free. All this information you can, and that's fine. But if you want it clear, concise, and you want to make a difference in your life, and you feel like investing $7 to yourself, check that guide out. But the only way you can get it is being on an email list, which is down below. So, so yeah, pre-party. We're still on the pre-party kind of thing. Got 45 viewers right now, 27 upvotes. Now, I'm not a math engineer here, but there are some people that are not hitting the button. All right. So do me a favor, guys. If you're enjoying this program, you want episode 3, you want episode 4, hell, you want all the way up to episode 10 on garage sale tips and tricks and how to sell for profit. There's only one thing I'm going to ask you to do. I'm not going to tell you what it is, but you're smart people out there, guys. And I know you know what I'm talking about. So you have to do something for me, and it's very easy to do. All right, so let's talk about into the pre-partying again. The reason why research benefits you, okay, is very, very important. I'll tell you one thing. I can't tell you how many times in my life that this has happened, where I find myself going, you know what, I can remember, you know how I said I was like really into remote control cars. Now I'm really into them because back in the day I couldn't afford them, okay? And we're talking about hobby grade and higher end consumer grade remote control cars or radio controlled vehicles, whatever you want to call them. And these are all the things that you see kids in the driveway. They got the little remote and then the little cars going in the street, you know, that kind of stuff. But my parents just didn't have enough. It's not that they didn't have enough. They had plenty of money back in the day, like, but they just didn't invest it into things that could break really easily, right? They would always just, okay, we're going to invest it into a better vehicle or whatever, so we can go to like beaches and like take the kids to forest and like things that really matter in life. And I look back at them like, you know what, that was probably a better thing to spend the money on. But that nevertheless, I didn't have any of this cool stuff back in the day. I had a Nintendo and then my grades dropped, so they took the Nintendo away. So, you know, I'm just saying, like, for example, like I had a remote control car and it lasted a little bit and then it broke, and then, you know, that's just what happens. I got an allowance for here and there, and then I compiled it together, got another remote control car, it broke after like a month or two. I mean, those things really, I was a kid, you know, I probably was trying to jump a race car. Like, it's a race car. It looks like an Indy race car. Why am I trying to send it off a ramp? But that's what kids do. So basically what I want to say is, if you want something that bad out there and you're like, you know what, I kind of want, and Raycon does this all the time. Like, you research things on eBay, you sort by sold listings. It's very easy to do. You can look on the left column, scroll all the way down. There's a thing that says sold listings, right? Anytime you want to do really good research, you type in whatever you want in the search field. You go to sold listings on eBay, then you go to the top right and you sort by highest, and it'll show you in the past 90 days typically what has sold for the highest amount of money. I also like to put used as one of the criteria, because the chances of you finding like super new stuff of whatever you're listing or whatever you're researching is kind of slim. So if you put used, now you're getting a really good idea of what's selling good. And if something's selling pretty good on eBay and let's say it's electronic based, it's probably selling even better on Amazon. If something's selling really good on eBay and it's video game based, it's probably selling even better on Amazon. There's some exceptions. If there's a remote control car on eBay that's like vintage and, you know, a little bit hard to find and it's used, that's something tough to put on Amazon, because there's probably not going to be a listing for it. Plus, you have to describe all this stuff out. And, you know, that's not the right one for Amazon. But what I'm trying to say is, when you're researching things, you're starting to see pictures, right? You get this, like, your memory works. You know, it's just like the memory. You remember that game back in the day that you used to play where you would uncover cards and flip them back over and try to find the shamrock, and then you uncover this one, it's a rectangle, put the rectangle down, the shamrock down. You uncover this one over here, and it's a pineapple, and you uncover this one, and it's a shamrock. You're like, okay, now I know where the two shamrocks are. So that's kind of like what's going on here. You're committing pictures to memory, and when you do research, that is exactly what's happening, right? Because there's a lot of stuff, there's a lot of things going on in garage sales. Once you exit out the car door, there's a lot of things going on that you need to think about. And nitty gritty, going down to every single item, like what's in here, what's that. You want to be able to train your mind to find things just like that, like real fast, because that's what the game is about. The game is about speed. In the golden hour, and anything kind of surrounding the golden hour a little bit. But the game is all about speed. The way you make really good money in garage sales is about going as fast as you can, right? And having a decent amount of product knowledge to the point where you can spot what the hell you already know is profitable from the car. You got to have that kind of product knowledge. You got to have, you know, the kind of thing that you see an item, you're like, damn, like I don't even want to test it. I just know that this thing is worth $2. This Sony clock radio, right, for example, or that Sony boombox. I don't test everything that I buy out. I don't test it out at the garage sale. I'm not afraid to lose money. I'm afraid to lose time. I'm afraid to not be able to go to what I told myself I was going to go to in a 2-hour span. That's what freaks me out, because that's the mentality that makes you a pretty decent amount of money, is that kind of mentality. Not I got to test everything out. I got to look in every box. I have to make sure I'm not missing anything. That's the mentality that'll get you stuck in a rut. Now, I understand if your town is a little bit bigger and the garage sales are maybe 15 minutes from each other, then yes, there's some outlying kind of like factors that you have to understand. And I know I'm not trying to encompass everybody into this one pool, but the faster that you can move, all right, and the more product knowledge you have, you win. That is totally right. All right. I'm just telling you right now. So, and if you're exceptionally good at 4 things like I am, now you're really rocking and rolling, because I'm exceptionally good at 4 things. Guess what? I'm also pretty decent at like 1,000 things. And that's the reason why when I go to a garage sale, I'm already noticing everything down to the stitching of a bag. Like, like I know, like I just can see like that's generic, that's crap, or that's good. I turn it over and it's a freaking Orvis bag, right? Or something. I can just tell certain things because I've researched it. And by the way, this is a perfect thing to actually let you guys know about. I researched Orvis bat and kill bags. Now, part of you guys probably don't know what I'm talking about, but if you go into eBay and you put in Orvis bat and kill, Battenkill, okay? Orvis bat and kill. These are these olive green bags that come from Orvis, which is like almost like outdoor fly fishing kind of company that's only found in certain towns, and they build super quality clothing. Now the clothing's got some resale and everything. The freaking bags and the reels and all that kind of stuff have crazy resale. So Orvis bat and kill bags, they make them in like wheeled luggage, I want to say. They make them in carry-ons and all kinds of stuff, and they're really neat looking bag. They got leather accents to them, and they're built right. They're built almost like an old U.S. mail bag from like the 60s or like the 50s, right? They're super, super well built and very highly desirable, even in completely used condition, broken zippers, whatever. People aren't afraid to get these things repaired. So, Orvis bat and kill. I researched this stuff because I was always like, I want to find a really cool U.S. mail bag for myself. I just wanted to, right? So I typed in U.S. mail bag, and the reason why is because I always keep my eyes open for like really cool opportunities and everything. I was at a Western boot store here in Austin, Texas, and not to mention the fact that it smelled incredible, because the smell of boots and leather just smells so good. But I'm in there, I'm enjoying, like just looking at all these boots. I'm turning boots over, looking at the prices. I'm a hands-on kind of dude. I really am. And then I look in the top corner, there's a US mail bag up there, not for sale, but it's like the old school ones that you see like in the movies Tombstone and all. I mean, it's really old. It's sitting there and it's got leather accents and it's built like a freaking warhorse. And I'm just like, man, I wish I could have one of those things. I wonder when my chance in life will be to get one. So of course I go to eBay. I'm like, surely if I see that there, someone in the country is probably finding this out of a barn, going to put it on eBay, and come to find out these bags are worth, a pretty decent amount of money, U.S. mail bags. But when you search U.S. mail bags and canvas bags, you start to realize like, okay, a lot of these are made out of canvas. Then you backtrack U.S. mail bag out of there, you put canvas bag vintage, right? And now you start finding these other brands that are really interesting, like Orvis bat and kill bags and stuff like that. Sure enough, 3 weeks later, I find an Orvis bat and kill bag at a Goodwill. Now, the question is, would I have just passed it by, or would I have just, not noticed it? That's the real question. Quite honestly, I might have passed that thing by. But it's the fact that I did a little bit of research and I have an appreciation for good quality is the reason why I picked it up. And it did sell for like, what, $80 or more? I don't know. But I've only found 2 bat and kill bags in my entire life. So like that was one of them. But I remember doing research and like, it's like priming your mind for what you want. It's the same thing in that movie, The Secret, the DVD that everyone's watched. You got to think about what you want, guys. You got to think about how you want your day to go. And I guarantee if you think about it, obsess about it, your day will probably go amazing. So, all right, let's talk about, I got a lot of people in here. Oh, 46 people, 33 likes. You know what to do. Hook me up with a like button. I do like talking about this kind of stuff because I'm really passionate about this kind of stuff. It's fun. It's really, really fun. Dude, even when I talk to my parents, they're just like, man, he's just so animated when he talks about garage sales. He will wake up earlier than anybody else. He's just that kind of a guy when it comes to garage sales. This is because it's so much fun. And I just happen to make a good amount of money from doing it as well. So, if I'm a little too hyped up, sorry, but that is kind of how it is. Thriftology, I love that name. Andrew Alvis. So that was like, tip number 1 is pre-party, okay? And just like you're a kid or you're in college, plan for your party, okay? And the party is your garage sale day. But you got to pre-party, man. You got to pre-party and take it seriously. So very important. Got all kinds of great comments in here. This info is completely legit. Thanks, man. Like the seller app. Okay. So let's talk about the net. Love the energy, bro. Brian Kingsbury, Walter Roque, thanks. What's up, Andrew? Felix Byware, yes, you can. Chris, can I join the green room if I'm 14? If you're 14 and driven and you want to make a difference, we want you in the green room, right? We just don't want anybody that is, like negative, scared to make any money. We'll take some scared people here and there. We just don't want anyone that doesn't realize, like, investing in yourself is so important, guys. So whether you purchase, goods and stuff from me or Rakin or any one of the people that are on my team, the fact is you got to understand that investing in yourself is one of the only ways to shortcut your time. That's it. Or you can practice it yourself and try to get good by yourself and watch a bunch of free stuff, which is cool, but it's going to take you a lot freaking longer. I'm going to tell you right now. You can watch, that's partially true, and I don't know. It's hard to say. My videos or Rakins, or there's plenty of other good people on YouTube that make garage sale haul videos. You can learn from that too, but people and that's one of the best things about the green room. You're surrounded with people that actually care about what you're doing, right? Go to your family and tell them about garage sales and all that kind of stuff. Go to them for an hour and try to see if they don't roll their eyes after a while and get sleepy. Some people just don't care about this kind of stuff. Reselling is not one of those things that you can just bring up at the dinner table with all your friends and they're going to care, right? Honestly, most people don't. And so that's one of the best things about the green rooms. Now you're exposed to 700 people, 697 people that are 697 people that are really, really serious about your ROI, like what you're making, like what you're finding, and they're showing their stuff too. And that's a very, very good kind of environment to be in, right? It's kind of like putting the bacteria in the petri dish and then exposing it to like open air, and it's like it just starts multiplying and doing crazy things. That's kind of like what the green room is. You can go in there like a scared little bacteria, and then you're just going to develop into this like mutated, amazing thing. And that's what happens in the green room. I know I make fun of it, but at the same time, if you come in acting like a sponge, you're respectful. It doesn't matter what age you are, 80, 14, we don't care. As long as you can possess the fact that you're hungry and you can treat people with respect, we're going to want you in that room. The question is, do you want to be in that room? All right, so let's talk about the next thing. Brian Kingsbury, you guys are smart when it comes to reselling. Great team. 697 members, way to go. Thanks, Brian. Appreciate that. Silver Hair Stacker, my choice tomorrow is attending a storage unit auction or going to garage sales. Good choose. Me personally, always look at storage unit auctions. I mean, look, some people have storage unit garage sales, right? Where they have a storage unit and they just want to unload some of the stuff from it. It could be overflow from doing auctions. Let's face it. It could be that kind of stuff. But storage unit auctions, any kind of auctions in general, I stay away from, because auctions are a lot of downtime until it gets to the item that you really care about. Auctions drain my time. There's so many auctions in town, Goodwill ones, this and that, like Salvation Army ones, and I got to hover around there for like 2 to 3 hours. Like, who knows what number that I mean, sometimes the item that you want is like number 67, or maybe the unit that. See, the thing with storage auctions, correct me if I'm wrong, you don't even know. You can say a little bit about what's in there, but they kind of just go down accordingly, and it takes time, right? I mean, no one does storage auctions and then leaves in like 15 minutes. Like, you go to a garage sale, you can leave within 2 minutes, 5 minutes. So it's a much bigger time commitment. And you really have to know what you're worth to make the accurate judgment call. If you're super good at storage unit auctions, I mean, like you're an ace, then I'd say, why even mess with garage sales, right? But on the flip side, I'm just the kind of guy who likes the thrill. I like driving around. I don't like standing around. I especially don't like standing around hearing a bunch of random stories about, like, I don't know. It's kind of hard to say, but I like to focus on like change. I like to focus on things that I know I can control. So I don't know. Like when I'm around a storage kind of thing or any kind of auction, I'm not in control of the time. And that's the part that bothers me the most. When I'm in garage sale mode, I'm in control all the time. And I like that. So Blackhawk surplus, I did storage auctions. It can be lucrative, but a huge time suck. Yeah. So like time is so important. Like it is so important. And here's Brian. Dude, you have a spaceship to cruise Austin. Why would you sit in an auction? You know, I'll tell you the kind of auctions that I do like, guys. And that's ones that they're not silent. I guess they are silent, right? They expire at a certain time of the week. Goodwill's in this town, guys. They have cases where it has products that you can't touch, But on Saturday, there's a bid book, right? And you can look at the items, and you can even ask them to open up the cases. So you can like take a look what video games are in there. Okay, cool. It's not a bunch of empty cases. And then you can bid on the items, right? And the highest bidder in the book wins whatever's in that case. Now, the funny thing is you can show up physically to the auction and wait for your whole number to come up and be like, I'm waiting for 67, which is the, Nintendo game lot or whatever. And then you can try to physically beat out whoever's sitting there. Now, if no one's there, you could just beat out the last bid in the book, which is kind of easy to do if you're there, but you also have to wait till number 67. That freaking takes forever. Or you can just do a silent. You can just bid in the book and just hope you don't get outbid by someone who's physically at the auction. So I put in like 5 bids today on some random things. It was a motorcycle jackets, and the rest of the stuff was mostly video game stuff. And hope for the best. I mean, I win like 1 out of every 10, and I put a very low bid in, and that's just the way it is. I'm not going to wait through an auction. I just don't like doing it. The last time I waited through an auction, I remember this distinctly. I kind of got caught up in the craziness, and I didn't overpay for something. Well, yes, I did. I overpaid for a bike, and when I sold it, I ended up making like a little bit less than I thought, and that sucked. It was just because there was some other guy that was just like battling at me, and I was just like, oh, my ego is so much more important, and that was just the wrong call. So, but I tell you why I had that mentality is because I also waited about an hour for that bike to get up to the auction block, and then my hour invested, I was sitting there and I just got greedy, and that's just what happened. So that was many years ago, guys. That was like 7 years ago, long time ago. But still, I remember that day distinctly, and I was like, that was just not worth any of it. So let's talk about number 2. You guys ready? Okay. Robert Hernandez. Oh, I didn't see your name. Okay, cool. Well, there was some stuff in there, Robert. Robert Hernandez is from town, so we see each other's names in there. If I see your name, Robert, I just a fair kind of thing. I don't ever not that I can recall. I think I ever overbid you whatsoever in stuff. When I see an amazing video game kind of thing that I know I'm going to pass on, I might text Brock or something like, do you want your name in the book? Because I'm physically here right now. Like, I've done stuff like that. But I don't ever overbid people that I personally know. And if I can discern that that's your name and your number, like I don't ever overbid. That's just not right. So anyway, okay, so let's talk about number 2. You guys are probably, please, if you don't agree with this, that's fine. But just hear me out on this one, okay? Number 2 tip that you guys get today is judge accordingly. This is the part that, it's very easy not to find gray area, but a division of like, it's either one or the other, right? Some people are like, that's a wrong thing to do. Bonafide, like that's really bad advice. Or you get the, yeah, that's right advice. Like, so here's what it comes down to. When I say judge accordingly, this is the time, how everyone says like, don't be so judgmental. Don't be so judgmental. Don't be so quick to judge. Don't be, you're a hypocrite. You're judging too fast. Like, don't judge a book by its cover. Like, look, guys, there are a lot of garage sales in this town. I go to a place like Houston. There are a lot of garage sales in Houston. A little bit more spread out, but still a lot of garage sales in Houston. Plenty of opportunities. I go to garage sales in San Diego. A little bit more spread out. Still a lot of great things in San Diego. I've been to, where else do I go for garage sales around the country? North Carolina, right? Charlotte area. Plenty of garage sales for everyone to have fun with. Look, judge accordingly is so important, guys. Like, when it comes down to it, like one of the very first things that I judge, and I'll do this from my house on a Friday night when I'm making my list. Neighborhoods. I told you guys earlier in this thing, judge the neighborhood. Like, you should know about the neighborhood before you're even getting onto Craigslist. This is kind of an important thing to do. So, know your town, man. And if you're like, what the hell is he talking about? Okay, I'm telling you to drive your damn neighborhoods. Go to the neighborhoods, drive all over them, and start driving around town. Usually you'll find the best neighborhoods to, let me see if I get this right, to the north and the, did I get this west or east? Northeast. I think it's the northeast of the epicenter of whatever town you're in. I think it's because of the flow of water or something like that. But a lot of times, like, there's always a rich neighborhood. Like here in Austin, Texas, you go to the northeast, you're in Westlake Hills, good neighborhood. Anything to the north and the east is going to be Exposition Drive, Terrytown, all these really, really good neighborhoods that if you drove through them, you'd be like, whoa. When you start seeing steel roofs and really well manicured lawns, and you look in the driveway and you see import cars, like usually that's a sign like imports. And then if you start seeing German imports, then it's like, all right, now we're talking like BMWs and Range Rovers, or that's an English one, but you know what I'm talking about. We're talking about expensive cars, right? With decent depreciation, but who cares? These people have money, right? And then you go down to what I think the best neighborhoods of all are not those super richy ones, but it's right under them, right? It's right under them, and the cars you're gonna find in those are like a little bit more of your everyday car, but everyday kind of import car. And so I know this is being judgmental. I understand it, but this works absolutely works. So it's usually a little bit smaller home, right? It's not crazy, elaborate or gorgeous or whatever, but it's nice. It's a nice one. It's in a desirable, like it was a neighborhood that might have been, I don't know. It's like recently renovated in the past 20 years. Like people are starting to renovate them themselves. Like that's kind of cool. It's not cookie cutter looking homes. I like those neighborhoods a lot because those are the ones where the people aren't trying to get top dollar for their items, but they buy the same quality items as the rich people, except for furniture. Um, but yeah, everything else, the juicers will be the same. All the same items, lake-related goods, sporting goods, all that'll be almost exactly the same as the rich people, except they ain't going to go for rich people prices. So that's pretty interesting. Yeah. So judge accordingly your neighborhoods. Start figuring out those neighborhoods. Judge the HOA. And this is another weird one too that you might be like, what the hell? I'm telling you to judge. Try to figure out if you can tell if there's a homeowners association or not. And the way you can kind of tell that is, a bazillion cars in the street or in boats and RVs or no, right? Or you start seeing the boats and the RVs behind fences and stuff, and there's not a bazillion cars in the street, right? They keep the sidewalks clean, and there's like a bike lane here and there. That's a nice neighborhood, right? Most actual towns, those neighborhoods are the ones with the $500,000 houses that don't even look like $500,000 houses. It's a desirable neighborhood to be in. It typically it's characterized by active people, right? People that are very active. They don't dress like they have money, but they do. And then the cars in their parking spots are usually import cars, just like the way it is. And typically, if you looked at the actual caliber of import, it would be a Japanese one. So now you're like, dude, you're going like crazy Bonafide into this like explanation. But quite honestly, I'm telling you right now that it does work. So look at the HOA. An HOA is called a homeowners association. Just make sure that some neighborhoods have them, some don't. The ones that don't have HOAs, typically, to me, it's almost like a barren wasteland, right? I have an HOA in my neighborhood. We pay fees every year or every quarter, and it keeps, people from putting boats everywhere and RVs and all this junk and people's cars on stilts. You see people's cars and they're working on it. It seems like they're working on the car for like 2 months. It keeps all that out of there, okay? And a good neighborhood won't have any of that. And that's the neighborhood you want to find is those. So an HOA is an important thing. You can almost tell which one has the HOA and which one doesn't. And the one without the HOA is going to be the one you don't want to make the bet on, okay? Now, if you guys are like physically living in one of these neighborhoods, I'm not like coming down your neighborhood. I'm just saying for a garage sale and making money in a judgmental aspect, like if you want to make money, these are just real rules right here. This is what I go by, and it works. It freaking works, and I don't know how else to explain it. So let's talk about the development age. Someone else clearly hinted to this in the comment feed, guys. Kind of like new money neighborhoods. So yeah, the development age is going to matter a lot too. In every town across America that is growing, okay? So let me put a little caveat right there. A growing town in America, typically the epicenter is going to be the most expensive place to live. Then you have right around it, which is still pretty expensive, let's face it. And then you have these neighborhoods that are just popping up in every remote corner. And they're just developments, right? A big piece of land clears out, the developer comes through, then usually a home builder comes in there, and a home builder goes, I take the entire development, and then the home builder has like 15 homes to decide from. Layouts from 1-story to 2-story to, do you want the awning? Do you not want the awning? Do you want this carport garage, or do you want a physical garage? That kind of stuff where it's, you're kind of limited to what, and the whole neighborhood looks exactly the same. So, those are neighborhoods that typically when the houses are like really cheap, I'm talking like super cheaply made and everything like that, I wouldn't go to those neighborhoods. I don't like those. When those houses kind of look the same, but they're like stone and crazy masonry and, like Spanish tile roof and everything. All right. So that's a more expensive development kind of neighborhood. And that one I would go to, right? But the ones that are dirt cheap and they're moving in people like left and right, and when you go down the streets, like everyone's grass is not manicured right, but then everyone gets their one little tree, and I wouldn't put bets on those neighborhoods. If you're trying to make money, don't put a bet on those kind of neighborhoods. And those are going to be found outside of the center of the city. Okay. So I'm just telling you, like, how I judge accordingly. Like, I don't ever find myself in those neighborhoods, but I'll find myself in, the neighborhoods where the houses are nice, but they all kind of look the same, but they're very nice, super nice, and very well manicured lawns, and the right kind of cars are sitting in the driveway. Yeah, that neighborhood, I'm interested in that one. So, are you guys enjoying the show, by the way? I forgot to ask, like, how everyone is kind of doing. 35 likes. Hey, guys, if you could hook me up with a like, I would really appreciate it. It's called discernment. Eric Grant, that's a great word. Spec house neighborhoods, perfect for baby gear. Garage flips, you're dead on. I mean, it's spec house neighborhoods. I guess that's what it is. I'm not telling you guys to be everything outside of garage sale and all that kind of stuff. Guys, don't act like this, okay? Like in real life, treat people with respect, whether they're rich, they're poor, whatever. But when it comes down for you making money and you putting, you making that car payment, that house payment, paying off your entire house early, putting food on your table for your family. And this is real money here, right? And you're going to have to get judgmental. You're going to have to treat this like a business, or else you're just kind of just trying to wing it. And the people that really hone in on their thoughts and they go, you know what do I see here? Should I pass this one up or not? And the same thing goes when you're doing a Craigslist kind of like research. Like, you got to look at that ad and go, what does this sound like to me? Does this sound like is this a good neighborhood? You should be able to know already, just because your knowledge. You're like, I know that's a good neighborhood. That zip code, I've seen it before. That's a good neighborhood. But if you don't know that, God, at least look in the pictures and go, what do the pictures tell me about these people, right? And if you can't tell from that, then look at the listing. And the listing is like, toddler stuff, baby gear, blah, 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 like this and that, knickknacks, skip it. Okay. So anyway, I'm just going as raw as I can on this show. I try not to ever cuss on my videos, so that way youngsters can watch it and everything like that. But, I'm just trying to go as raw as I can, so give you guys the best amount of value I can give you in an hour. And by the way, we are coming to 13 minutes before the show ends. So last thing, here's the worst one. Judge the people. All right. So when you're driving by, look at the people. Do the people look like they care about kind of like what they look like? Judge the people and their lawn. Judge that kind of stuff too. Judge if they look like a reseller, right? You don't want to be buying reseller stuff, right? You're there to get 1,000 percentile, 800% ROI kind of stuff. When you deal with a reseller, yes, you can make money. Yes. But a lot of times if a reseller is getting rid of something, it's because it's arguably not worth the time of that person. So you need to start thinking about your time and going, is this worth my time? Because if it is worth yours, then maybe it's going to work out okay. But there's maybe the reseller wasn't putting it in the right avenue. There's all kinds of things to be factored. But typically when I've ever bought from a reseller, the deal just isn't that good for me personally, but it might be good for the reseller. So anyway, but that's just one of those things. You have to figure it out the hard way. And what I'm telling you guys in the show is learn from my mistakes, right? But if I even get a hint of a reseller at a yard sale, there's only one type of reseller that I kind of would do business with, and that's the one that is closing down an antique booth. Because then I just lowball the absolute hell out of that entire situation. I don't care about what the business did. I don't care about who this person is at the end of the day. I care about getting cool one-off kind of goods that I know would sell good in my booth. I like that kind of stuff. And that seems to be the only type, because you see that in this town. People closing their booth down or their flea market stand or whatever, and they just bring all their junk. And the reason why you know it is because everything's pretty much well taken care of, cleaned already, and some of it still has tags on it, right, from their booth. So yeah, I will actually like those. I do business with those every now and then, but I try not to do business with most resellers. So anyway, Brian Kingsbury, yeah, it's a good comment. It is like entering the Twilight Zone. It's like the Escher painting, right, where it's like the dude's on the top of the painting, but like if you flip it a weird way, it's like you're like, man, gravity doesn't make sense in this portrait whatsoever. But it's kind of like when you go to those reseller garage sales, like everything's too organized, and it's like, I don't like this. Like, I like vague and disorganized rather than organized. That's what I like, and that's where money is. Okay, so anyway, thanks to Thriftology. That's a good comment. I want to have a little bit of time for Q&A, so I'm gonna blast right through number 3 for you guys. All right, and then after that we'll do some Q&A. and then I'll set you guys on your way. And trust me, I think you'll do just fine tomorrow on garage sales. So organize immediately upon arriving. So, you can take this two ways, guys. When you're I don't know what kind of garage sale. I try to pick very carefully the kind of stuff that I know is going to sell money, and I'm like, yeah, is this long tail, not whatever. I'm very careful with the way I spend my money these days because booth is at an all-time capacity right now, so it's got plenty of goods in there. And I'm not looking really for any crazy long tail stuff for FBA. I'm not looking for anything crazy long tail on FBA. I mean, not FBA. I just said that, eBay. Sorry. I'm not looking for anything crazy long tail anymore. I don't care about it. I'm looking for things I can flip within like 6 months or so. Like that's my main thing. 3 to 6 months at the most. So like my long tail to me now, like the way my buying structure for the past year has been like try to get rid of it within 6 months, and preferably, if I'm dealing with FBA and it's like a retail arbitrage situation, I'm looking at like a month. Okay, so I usually don't like to play the waiting game. I don't like to forecast like, oh, like Valentine's Day, so buy now for Valentine's Day for next year. No, I don't want to mess with that either. I just don't mess with that kind of stuff. I do things that I feel comfortable with. And so if you feel comfortable with some of this Valentine's Day stuff, buy Halloween costumes now. Like, maybe, but for the most part, I don't mess with it. I just don't. But I do when it comes to actually, how do I say this? Organizing things. I try to organize things pretty much as soon as I get them. If I can remember to, I have certain bins in my truck, right? And a certain bin might be an eBay bin, or there might be an antique booth kind of. I structure things to where it's fast to get out, especially for the antique booth, because I don't like taking that stuff home with me unless it's so cool and I have to show it to like a Periscope or maybe like to the green room later. Like, so I might take a couple of the things back home with me, but I try not to, because with the antique booth, it's like in the middle of like, it's in the perfect part of town, like to where before I go home, I'm destined to go by the antique booth. It's just on the way. So I always like drop my stuff at the booth with tags. I have tags with me in the car. And it gives the item the best chance to make money immediately. That's the most important thing. I mean, I would love to come home and like make an awe-inspiring video about the item, but if you notice, there's not a whole lot of videos that I make that have awe-inspiring antiques that are one-off kind of things, because that stuff is already at the booth. And probably could make better. I mean, my channel could be a whole lot better if I did, but I'm in it for the money, just like everyone else is. So organize upon arriving to your house at the very bare minimum. Look, if you guys can't organize while on the fly, and I'm talking about quick organization, I'm not talking every single time you come out of a garage sale, now you start organizing the whole car again to like fit everything together like a freaking Jenga puzzle or a Tetris thing. I'm talking like organize it on the fly, like, have things in bins, boxes, whatever. The best boxes by far, if you go to Sam's Club or Costco, they got these boxes with handles on them. Like the banana box from Costco is my favorite because that's the strongest one. It's amazing. The apple box is real good too. These are really, well-made cardboard boxes that are built for like carrying large amounts of fruit. And they just like never degrade. So if you're looking for like really good things to put in your car, put those boxes in there. Very important to try to organize like ASAP. Like, okay, this is going to Amazon. That's that Amazon box. Boom, 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 boom. That way, when you're pulling out of your car, your car's in your driveway. Boom, you just know like, okay, this one's the Craigslist one. Man, this one probably stays right outside of the garage right now because I can take pictures of this crap right now. And then you're like, all right, this box is going into my office because that's the FBA, which is probably slated for like Monday or Tuesday. However you want to do it, because let's face it, most times on the weekend, people get time with their families, their kids, their dogs, their whatever, and it's time to kind of unwind a little bit. So I don't try to go right into my listing like on a Saturday afternoon or evening. I don't. But I will try to crack into the Craigslist pictures, though, as soon as I unload my stuff, and at least have that on the card in my camera so that if I decide to do a listing on Saturday evening when I'm kind of just chilling out, it's ready to go. I don't have to like zoom outside, take pictures, and I don't like doing that. But I will take pictures almost immediately of those items, right? I'll take, being a content creator, I take pictures of like the entire haul. Usually goes in the green room and everything. But yeah, you want to organize immediately when you get home, okay? If you can't do it in the car, guys, do it as soon as you get home and like put things in boxes and put things in corners of your office and stuff. Don't put things in, prominent places, not on the dinner table, right? Because that's just going to irritate wife or husband. Don't do things like that. Just put it places where like at this given day, I pick up that box and I do what I need to do. So piles of random stuff, completely not necessary. If you've got piles, and you're gonna have problems. Okay, if you have shelves in your garage, and it's just got no organization to it, you're gonna have problems down the road. So yeah, just remember, make sure to distribute to each avenue early on. And the avenues, I always like to try to list the item that's going to make me the most money first. And a lot of times it just so happens to be, sometimes, I mean, a lot of times it happens to be a Craigslist item. It's like a bike or something, right? I'm like, dude, I could get all my money back that I spent today just by selling this one bike. So there's that, right? I forgot to tell you guys about one thing real quick. Remember how we were talking about pre-party at the beginning of the show? I always told you guys there's like a fourth way to pre-party, right? And here it is. So the first way to pre-party is to use Craigslist. The second way to pre-party is to do the yard sale treasure map. And the third way to pre-party is gseller.net or gseller.com. I forgot which one it was. The last way to pre-party, I don't know if you guys have this or even know about it, but it's an app called Nextdoor. Okay, and on Nextdoor, you can find some really cool ways to pre-party. And some of the ways to pre-party is you just get a great good straight out of the box. But it's one of the ways to see garage sales before, because this is a neighborhood app. It's an app that runs around your immediate area of your neighborhood, zip codes right around your one area. So if you live in a nice, dense place, then look at your Nextdoor app. So these are the kind of things you're going to find Nextdoor. There's some fluff you're going to have to mess with. And the fluff is like lost dog, lost kitty cat, Bernie Sanders rally at 4 p.m. today, blah, blah, blah. Who cuts good tree? Who provides good mulch and grass, and you got to get rid of all that kind of crap. I got a Cavalier for sale, $3,000 only. Like, who cares about all that stuff? But then you're going to find, as the weekends come closer, ones that say, having garage sale this weekend, here's some of the items. Anyone want anything first? That's a good one, right? And then there's the even better ones, which I like, are just straight up people going, before they even put it on Craigslist, is like new printer in box, or like bicycle, right? I bought a bicycle last week that's probably worth a good amount. I bought it for like $80, and just some dude down the road. I literally like drove my truck half a mile, met up with him at a park, took the bicycle, and I was back home. Nextdoor is amazing, guys. Like, it's a really, really good way to pre-party. So just so you know, and I've seen, for this weekend, I've seen 3 garage sale posts on my Nextdoor app already for people that are having it this weekend. So that's amazing. Like, sorry, that's really good. So anyway, yeah, if you have Nextdoor and you live in a nice dense neighborhood, then you need to mess with Nextdoor. You have to. Okay, so I'm not going to answer every single question that comes by, because some questions I just don't answer. But I will open it up for Q&A and probably have a solid 5 to 10 minutes for that. Guys, if you're liking the show, and if you watch this after the fact, if you're watching it now and it's not live or whatever, I'm talking to you right out there right now, hit the like button, please, and I'll make more. But if you guys could hook me up with a like as well, we've got 56 people. That means 14 people are, they're wanting to give me that like, but they're thinking twice. Guys, go for it. All right, so questions. What is going on? Here we go. Question mark from Garage Flips. Why do you stop for coffee every morning? Is it not GTO to stop like that? Time is too precious. Can't you bring it with you? Okay, so when I stop for coffee in my videos, it's always after the golden hour has been done. If you look at episode 1, I explained the golden hour to extreme detail. So golden hour is very important. It's basically the main hour where you don't do anything. You don't go to the bathroom anywhere. You don't go grabbing coffee anywhere. You don't go to the ATM. You don't go trying to gas up your car. This is a very important hour, and sometimes it's hours in certain towns. In Austin, it seems like it's hours. So anytime that you watch my videos, guys, and you see us, pounding down a coffee, it's typically after 9 o'clock. So if that answers your question, can I bring the coffee with me? Yes, but I'm a content creator too, and getting coffee at different places in town, I'm a bit of a coffee connoisseur, right? And for me to build the same kind of doppio that I have at some of these, you want to see, I love this drink called a doppio. If you guys watch my videos, I love these things, right? And they got to be built on demand, on the spot, and you got to consume them within sometimes 30 seconds or a minute, because then it just degrades really quickly. So unless I brought my own like espresso machine with me in the car, that would be crazy messy. I'm just not making those things, right? But it's not to say that I don't have a little bit of caffeine right when I wake up on a Saturday morning. I do actually have a tiny bit, right? Just to kind of power me through golden hour. And then I start dropping again. And I'm like, I needed some caffeine. Then I get the doppio. And that's why you guys see it on the actual channel. Well, I talk about my consignment. Okay, so there's a place that I do consignment in town. Hopefully you guys can start employing this, or use it. Play It Again Sports. Okay, Play It Again Sports is one of the, I think, most interesting places to do consignment because there's only one way to win it, Play It Again Sports, and you have to understand the season schedule of the sporting goods. And you'll see why it's important about 1 second. But so they have, every middle school, high school, they got team sports, right? And these sports are soccer, baseball, lacrosse, football. I'm talking about team sports. Play It Again Sports. If you have these stores in your town, there are places where you can buy new and used sporting goods, but typically it's mostly used, but it's very good condition used stuff. So you can find everything you want there. You can find weights, anything you want. You can even find down to skateboards, wakeboards, water skis, whatever, but mostly team sports are in there. Okay, down to frisbee golf in some locations too. And the funny thing is that all those items came from somewhere, right? So that's the kicker of this consignment store is like you can do consignment where you can get a little bit more money for your item. You can kind of dictate a price that you want, or they can flat out buy that item straight out from you that day. Like, and this is the reason why it works is because you can go to someone's garage sale and like, look, like just take everything, like $1, that whole pile of baseball bats and mitts and everything. If you get that opportunity to do that and you have a Play It Again Sports, seriously, take that stuff for $1 and then take it right to Play It Again Sports. Be like, hey, will you pay me? Like, what will you pay me for this right now? And they might show you, shell you out a number like $20, right? There goes your $1, right to 20. However, if you go consignment on the deal with Play It Again Sports, then you just tell them, well, how about price accordingly and then just give me a cut. If you say price accordingly and give me a cut, that's the consignment deal, guys. And the consignment deal will pay you more. And then they'll actually try to sell it for a higher price. And then they get a little bit more of a cut, whatever. So that's one way to do it too. And I like that way better because when I know I have a quality good, whatever, typically it's lacrosse helmets and stuff like that, because those just sell really well. Then I'll shove it over there. And then every, 2 months, 3 months, I'll go pick up a check from the place. And that's the way I like to do it. Or what I really like to do is to buy an item from the place with the check that they were going to pay me. So that way it doesn't show up on income. It's kind of weird. But anyway, it's very interesting. Yeah. So that's the way I like to do it. There's some weird loopholes. But Play It Again Sports is one of the best consignment places, I think, in town because as long as you can understand the seasonality of the sports, like there might be like, okay, like the football season's coming up in whatever, and the lacrosse season's about to end. So, when they say lacrosse season's about to end, then they're probably not going to take lacrosse goods, but football season's about to start. Okay, now they're going to be buying cleats and like all the stuff that comes with football stuff down to the helmets and the pads and everything. And don't tell me you go to garage sales and you buy and you don't see pads and bats and golf clubs. I mean, this kind of crap is totally the stuff that Play It Again Sports might buy. And I say might because they buy good stuff. They don't buy wooden golf clubs. Okay, they're going to buy good things, complete sets, things like that. So anyway, that's the consignments. Yeah. Play It Again Sports. You thought it was a local place, Hearts. No, man. I think almost every town I've ever been in has them. Yeah, check out Play It Again. You could try it really quick. I mean, try it with one of the safest ways to try it. I always like to say, try it with a Cascade helmet. Although there is one helmet that the MLL, the Major League Lacrosse Association, whatever, doesn't allow anymore. It's like a prohibited helmet, so hopefully you don't pick that one. But I don't know if it's a CPSV or CPXV or something like that. There's one helmet that's so prominent. It's white, and you can put whatever decal you want on the side of the team that you're playing for. And that helmet sells like hotcakes in the Play It Again Sports, and you'll see it at people's garage sales for like $5 and less, and then they'll try to sell it there at Play It Again for like $15 and up. So that one's a, if you can figure out your lacrosse season and all that kind of stuff, that's not a bad one to mess with already. But yeah, there's definitely pads there. Pads, gloves. Oh, I see all that kind of stuff. H-Flip HD. So yeah, you got to Play It Again in Huntsville. There are Play It Agains everywhere. It's just one of those things. Look, guys, it's not the biggest check of all time, okay? It's a small check, but it's just still money that you can make. It's very important that you understand that money, if it takes 5 months to make the money or 3 months to make whatever, it could be $100, $200, $300, right? if it takes a little bit of time to make that, all you're doing is dropping it off. That's all you are doing. Like, and there's no long-term storage fees or nothing weird like that. You're just dropping it off. That's it. That's all you're doing. Remember how you like amass Nerf guns and all that kind of stuff, and then you sell it one big lot on eBay kind of thing, or you put it on Craigslist? Same kind of thing. You can do the amassing game too, and you can amass helmets of all different sizes. In fact, one of the last times I went, like a year ago, or no, I said one of the times I went a year ago, I brought like 5 ski helmets that, I was just like, they're not destined for eBay, but they're still, regardless, good ski helmets. And they bought them. They took them all consignment from me in October, right, which is right before the ski season. And then, of course, there was one that hadn't sold by January. So 4 had sold. That was good. It was like an $80 check. That wasn't bad. Just sitting, I just amassed them. That's just what it is. So anyway, Bleeding Renation, thanks about the hat. Let's get a couple more questions ask right here, guys. Go for it. Let's ask another one or two. It's good to see you, Hearts. Really good to see you, man. I respect Hearts Pickers. I mean, he's been there for like since day one. This is one of the most OG pickers slash hustlers slash resellers in the game, guys. So if you don't know about Hearts Pickers, he's sitting in their feed. In the feed, he has shows on his channel plus on Golden Finger Pickers channel as well. They are very well known in the space. If you're not subscribed to them, it's definitely worth your time. Go check it out. Get some great tips from Hearts and Golden Finger Picker. What do I need to do to start FBA? First of all, get signed up with Amazon, link all your bank account information, all this kind of stuff, your social security, for tax purposes. If you don't know anything about FBA, pick the $1 plan. There's a $1 plan, $1 per listing, or there's a $40 unlimited, I want to say. Pick which one accordingly. Of course, if you're just getting started, pick the $1. And then from there, learn as much as you can from free YouTube videos. If you're that kind of person, if you want to accelerate your learning curve, there's some people that have, FBA help and this and that. We do have a course in the green room for FBA people. It's just a mini course for FBA to get you started, to get your first shipment out and everything like that. And then, there's so much talk in the green room. About 60% of it is FBA. So you could join our room. Like I said, if you'd like to do it the free way, go for it. It does take it's a little bit scary, when you don't have people holding your hands or whatever. But nevertheless, I don't know what the free way would feel like in FBA, because I had Yang coach me through the whole entire thing about 2.5 years ago. So I don't know what it feels like to go, straight up. But I'm pretty sure it can be done. Like, if you don't want to spend money on it, whatever, you just want to learn it your own way, you probably do it. I'm the kind of guy who wanted to learn from a really good person. So Yang at that time was like really, really heavily into FBA and taught me everything. So let's get another. Brian Kingsbury, where do I primarily sell garage sale bikes? Craigslist. If you read my Bikes to Bucks guide, which I think next week I'll do a bikes kind of hangout too, and in conjunction with one of these hangouts, of course. But yeah, Craigslist for sure. Craigslist, and then maybe 5% of them go to eBay. But average profit per bike, I could never tell you what the average profit per bike was, but I can tell you that if I would say average, I would say just baseline, like a baseline average, I would say 80. Like that would just be like baseline. But for example, I bought one the other day that I'm targeting somewhere in the vicinity of 200 to 400 on, right? I bought it for 80 the other day, but that was off next door. So anyway, yeah, you'll make a lot of money on bikes. If you get into bikes and you trust my advice, God, there was one guy in the green room physical meetup that we had 2 weeks ago. He came up to me at a taco deli. His name is Jacob Lamore. Freaking stand-up dude. He comes up to me. He's like, Bonafide, I just want to shake your hand. I want to tell you thank you for introducing me into bikes. And I read your guide and I read everything. And he's like, I saw the videos and I was like, I'm going to do this. And he lives in Seattle. Okay, so it might be a little unfair advantage because Seattle is known for having a very big bike community. But he's like, I did all your advice. I did everything you said. He's like, and I just want to tell you thank you, man. He's like, I've made a lot of money doing this. So yeah, and then we proceeded to talk more about stuff. I might have him on a bike hangout with me, but is one of the success stories. Rake and Profit, also one of the success stories of bike hustling early in the game. One of his first scores was, I don't know if it was a $50 Canon deal that sold for like $539 on FBA on eBay. Anyway, I helped him with that one. So there's a lot of money to be made in bikes if you're picking the right ones. And if you're not looking at bikes and you see people riding bikes all around your town, shame on you for not learning it. It's a very lucrative way to make money. Mario, are we going to do another meetup this year? Mario was at the last meetup, and it was really good to meet you. There's going to be one in Houston in late October or early November. I know that. I'm going to host that one. There's going to be one in San Diego sometime in the first week of September. And then I'm going to head up that one as well. And then there might be an Austin one. There was one in Austin this past February. So there might be one then. There could be an Austin one in October. I'm not sure. So I don't know if Raken is going to come back into town in October, but there could be one in October. I don't know yet. So anyway, it's going to be a very micro. These are micro. These are what we call satellite meetups, and they typically are between 20 and 30 people, and they're nothing like the bigger meetup, which is closer to like 90. So anyway, but Mario, it was really a pleasure to meet you. Matthew Dresner, how do I research things while at a place and don't know what to offer? I'm betting that you won't want to get on your phone. You're right. So when I do FBA research real quick, I mean, it's like covert. I almost look like I'm playing Pokemon Go, right? But I'm not. I'll turn my back a little bit to the people so I can kind of look. Where it gets uncomfortable is if you're the only person at the sale and then you have to whip out your phone. Then you got to just rely on intuition and the price that you see right there. Are you willing to take a price? I call them blind buys. Are you willing to do blind buys or not? I do blind buys all the freaking time because I'm the kind of guy also, I'm not afraid to lose money. I'm not, because I know my style. I know how I like to experiment. And many times my experiments go very, very well. And I don't try to focus on the loss. Like, you focus on the loss, you will only incur more losses. If all you do is focus on bills in your life, right, you're gonna get more bills. It's just the way it is. If you focus on goodness and profit and positive thoughts, then you get all of that. Does that make sense? So that's kind of like what I'm talking about. Is I don't focus on the loss. If you're at a garage sale, you're not taking a big loss on anything. Let's just face it. I mean, unless it's like a receiver or something crazy like that you have to make a really good guess on. But if you know your stuff and you're in those upper categories of spending money, then it's typically you're looking at that and trying to justify it because you already know a lot about the item. You know a lot about the category. And so, I'm not opposed to doing blind buys. I do them all the time. I love it, actually. I think it's one of the best ways to really figure out if you're an expert or not, is to do a blind buy. If you embrace blind buying, not all the time, but if you can do it on a whim, I do it every weekend, then that's when you know, like, you're there. Blackhawk Surplus, scared money doesn't make any money. That's right. Brian Kingsbury, self-fulfilling prophecy. Believe it to achieve it. It's a great rhyme for Raken to use. Yeah, there you go. Daniel Fagan, I always ask, how much do you have to have on the video games and books? Once they name a price, bust out the scanner. Yeah, I mean, that's one of the things too. If I say how much on the video game, and they say like, $20, and I'm like, do these people look like they could be negotiated or what? Or do I even see a video game in there that's worth more than 20? If I see a video game is worth more than 20, I might be thinking, God, there's like 8, 10 more sales down the road I want to hit, And yeah, if I overpay by $10, who cares, right? If I'm bantering with somebody back and forth about a price and the outcome ends up polluting my thoughts, right? Let's say like they don't, and then they start, the more time you spend there, the kid comes out of the house and goes, why are you selling my games? Oh my God, like these kind of scenarios will happen, guys. So when you are, I'd rather overpay a little bit and get the hell out of there rather than stay around and wait for a mistake to happen or someone to realize, like, wait a minute, I don't want you selling my Super Mario. Like, I don't want you selling my Pokemon Stadium. Like, what? That's what you don't want. And I guarantee you that's going to happen, guys. That happens to the best of us and to the beginners. It's just an annoying thing that if you hover around too much, then the rate of someone figuring out why you're there increases very quickly. So H Flip HD, who is the best reseller in the green room? It's me. No, I'm just kidding. I don't know who it is. I don't know. Robbie Walton, great question. Do you ever part bikes out? Yeah. I don't know if I part them out when I see certain things that are worth more, like on the bike. But typically, if I'm taking a part off a bike that I think is more money, it's because I want to keep it, right? It's typically like a Brooks saddle or a good set of tires or something like that. Then I'll like keep it. I'll put some of my generic crappy tires on it and still sell it for the same amount of money. Um, that's one of the things that when you sell bicycles, there are certain things that just the one that I was working on yesterday, I pulled off a really amazing pump from it. I pulled off a water cage that weighs like nothing, so it's real nice. And I pulled off something else too. Oh yeah, the front and the back lights, which are like really nice LED lights. Pulled them off. Why? Because when someone buys the bike, they don't care about that stuff. Okay, they're assuming that they're going to buy it anyway, so it doesn't increase the buying of the price of the bike whatsoever. If you like comes with a bike light and like a freaking bike cage and a pump, that doesn't increase the value of that bike whatsoever. I guarantee you it doesn't. The people just want to see the bike in really nice, like un-BS'd condition, and un-BS'd means with all the gadgets on it, right? They don't want to see the bike bag on all this BS. They just want to see the bike. All right, the bike is what's going to make the buying decision. The fact that it has a tiny little pump attached to the side of it is not going to justify 10 or 20 more dollars, guys. So, strip the bike down, take all the good stuff off. If there's something really, really good, like exceptionally good, guys, and it's not integral to the selling price of the bike, then take it off and move it on a secondary market, or, keep it for yourself and put it on your own custom bikes. So both the Brooks saddles that I have on 2 of my bikes came from pawn shop bikes. And it's just sitting on bikes, and I'm like, the buyer of this bike, the next buyer of this bike is not going to care that it has a Brooks saddle or not. They're just not going to care if I put a generic saddle. They won't. They're not going to pay any more because it has a Brooks saddle on it. However, my life is going to increase a little bit because the saddle's now on my bike. So the quality of my life gets better. Plus, I still make the same amount of money on the bike regardless of the one I was going to sell. All right. Yes, me. Yes, me. You're absolutely right. Thank you. One more question, guys. Let's go one more. And, I got 55 people watching, guys, and 52 likes. That's really incredible to get that much conversion. So I'm going to tell you guys first 56. Now, thanks a lot for doing that. You guys didn't have to do it, but clearly you're finding some sort of value in this this thing that we're doing right now. And remember, the likes are not just let's boost Bonafide's ego or nothing. It just tells me two things, right? One, that this was a success of a show, and 2, do it again. Like, that's the most important thing. So if you guys want another show, I'll just look at the likes, and that's just, it's not brain science or rocket energy, rocket engineering. I look at the data and I go, these shows do really well on my channel. They bring a lot of people, and like they get a lot of upvotes. I'm going to do more of them naturally. So anyway, Blackhawk Surplus. I've taken a Brooks saddle off a bike and sold it alone for twice what I paid for the entire bike. Brooks saddles are amazing, guys. So I'm telling you, they're really good. Friday afternoon next week. I'm thinking next week. Let me think. My wife has a long weekend next week, and so I think I might be on the lake on Saturday. So I'm going to do this on Thursday next week. I'm pretty sure it's going to be Thursday, unless we decide not to go to the lake. But honestly, my wife's the kind of person, she's slowly learning through me. Like, life is just, an amazing journey that you can either test your physical limits or not. And I'm the kind of guy who I'm like, I just like to acquire a whole lot of skills. And I'm not just talking garage sales and reselling. I like to have skills, like body skills, where I'm a terrific mountain biker. I excel at mountain biking. I'm a pretty decent surfer. I can snowboard. I can hold my own with the best. I just learned wake surfing last weekend, like true wake surfing, like really good. And I'm getting good at that. I know how to longboard pretty decent. I can do a lot of things. And it's just because I'm refusing to accept, oh, my body hurts if it does, or I might get hurt. I'm refusing to accept any of these things. And my wife is slowly starting to jump on this bandwagon, right? She bought a really, I would say, expensive mountain bike 3 or 4 months ago, and she's like, fine, I'm going to give mountain biking a try. And like, you obviously love it so much, let's see what's going to happen with that. And so now she's been riding a lot with me, and really proud of her. But 2 years ago or 1 year ago, if I was to ask her, hey, what about mountain biking, she'd be like, no way, like, it's dangerous, I'm going to get hurt. And she actually did get hurt one time and almost broke her arm. But I was like, you can't base something on one thing, right? You can't base your entire future and maybe your enjoyment of the entire skill based upon one thing that went wrong. Like, you slipped on a root and you came down on your elbow and now you almost broke your arm. Like, that doesn't happen all the time. A skill is something you work on all the time. It's just like garage selling. It's just like making money. If you sat there and you incurred a loss as your first sale, or maybe within your first 3 sales, are you going to sit there and go, nah, reselling is not for me? No. You would write off hundreds of thousands of dollars in profit in the future. Like, that's stupid. That's a really dumb thing to do. So now you take it to the physical realm, guys, and to see what your body can do, whether it's losing weight or whatever. If you've ever tried to lose weight and you're like, I get discouraged and it's just not the diet for me, or I'm just always going to be this way. No, like that. Don't accept that, because then you're going to be like that forever. Like, you got to really realize that you're capable of very important things, guys. Like, very capable. Your brain and how you react and how you translate situations, these are very important things that you can correct, and you can shift your life into that perfect life that you want. You can do that. Anyway, going back to the story, my wife is starting to realize, like, you know what? YOLO, first of all, right? I hate to say it, but YOLO, you do only live once, right? Every moment that passes, you'll only get a chance to pass through that moment once. So, you're only getting older every single moment. And then second, she's just like, it wasn't as bad as I thought. I mean, I wouldn't say super proficient mountain biker, but she's now progressing up the stages, and she can hold her own. I mean, she's fallen a couple times, but she realizes that I'm glad I didn't write it off like as much as I was doing before. I'm glad I didn't write the whole thing off, because it came to almost like, sell my mountain bike. I ain't doing it anymore, Chris. So one day she just said, F it, I'm going to see if that works the way Chris thinks about his life and everything. And sure enough. So anyway, I think this Friday I might not do the show, because we might be on the lake, and I might be teaching her a little bit about wakeboarding and wake surfing and stuff like that, to get her up to speeds to where she's going to be having fun on the boat and stuff like that. So that's what's going on. I have the feeling the show is going to be on Thursday, guys. So if you are looking for the show, my guess is Thursday. All right, guys. And the Amazon FBA eBay treasure hunter says, great advice. Thank you so much. Can I kickflip? I'm more of a longboarder. Flip HD. I can pump a longboard like you wouldn't believe. I know what I'm doing. Kickflip is definitely college pickers, more of his kind of thing. I want to Schwinn Panther, Henry S. You have just moved up a notch in my book, because I love that bike too. Can I post the workout plan I made for Raken, Black Hawk Surplus? This is a very common question I'm getting recently. And I'm going to transcribe it. I am. But what I'm going to do is make it a little bit more sustainable for you guys. So I'm going to make it into something. Like, I don't know what it's going to be, but it's going to be a beginner sort of like program guide thing. Because if I just give you the workout without any of the rationale behind the scenes that Raken and I have talked about, or any of the higher level thinking that gets Raken's ass into the gym and like gets Raken's results the way it is, it's not going to work. So I've thought about it this year, and one of the things I've thought about, this is the last thing I'm going to leave you guys with, whether I should renew my certification or not for NASM personal training and everything. And I'm like, yeah, that just means I have to study a little bit more books and stuff. And like, are books going to really determine how well my body is going to look, or like how well? It's not. What gets you there is the way you think and conceptualize and understand what's going on in your life, and to figure out the walls you need to bring down in order to see what's over the wall. And I guarantee you, when you're dealing with fitness, you look over the wall and you're like, dude, there's an amazing life over there, right? But you have this wall built up. And my goal with Raken was to slowly build the wall down to where he could kind of look over it and see something. And he has definitely seen things. And so that's one of those things that, if I just give you a workout plan, right? And it's like bench press here and incline dumbbell press with flies and superset of this and some mountain climbers, you're going to be like, thanks a lot, Bonafide, but like, how do I do it all? Like, why does someone succeed over someone not succeed? I think it's honestly, it's the determination, the fuel, and everything before all that. So that's what I will be working on, at least I know in the August month. It takes a while to build those things. So anyway, Flip HD, what's my opinion of Mike Chang? I think Mike Chang's awesome, actually. I've met him once in life. I've seen him many times in Austin, but I've met him truly once and like shook his hand and talked to him. Mike Chang is not a scam. Like, I guarantee you, he's not. That guy preaches a lot of good stuff, and he's got a pretty phenomenal body. And now he's getting out of it and going more into like thoughts and everything. He's a really cool guy. Frank Byers, I'm getting into reselling just because of you. Awesome. Bleeding Green Nation, do I have any info on the healthy living site you guys were working on? We're not working on a healthy living site. We have Green Room Life. It's a part of the Green Room. You just have to request being part of Green Room Life, and in you go. And it's just a healthy version of Green Room. It's all the stuff that we can't talk about as hustlers. It's in one room. So we like to keep the money and the reselling part into the main Green Room, and then the really good stuff and like what people are juicing, what people are eating, what people are. Yesterday someone was like, how do I kick a smoking habit? So I got tons of responses on that post. I mean, it's all the other stuff that matters. So, think about it. HFlip HD, ICSM is better and faster than NASM. See, that's the problem with me, is I don't like other people telling me that I'm qualified, right? The fact that I've been working out since 1994, right? And I can't show you a before picture. I could show you a skinny Chris back in like the 90s, but that doesn't really help anybody. I've been fit my entire life for the most part. I've been able to control my weight up or down any way I want to. And that comes from a huge obsession into the sport and what it can do. And I don't need, this is my biggest dilemma this year is like, do I go for another certification or not? Because I don't want people to think like, you're certified, so you must be the best. Like, there's so many certified people out there, guys, that don't know jack, what, about lifting. And you'll find a lot of them at gyms, and it's just not, it's not right. I don't think it's right. I don't think because you can study for 2 or 4 weeks out of your life on a book, that means you're a fitness expert and you can start charging $60 an hour upwards to 150. Like, that doesn't make any sense to me. So what makes sense to me is look at your trainer and look at the people you want to become. If you want to have a body like so-and-so, then so-and-so probably knows how to get that body. If that person is certified or not, that shouldn't even matter at that point. All right. Because if a person can do it physically and you're looking at them and you're like, that's the body I want, then that person knows a whole lot more than a certification will ever provide them. So anyway, yes, Brian Kingsbury, I've been training clients with or without a certification. I'm certified now, but it's like, it doesn't matter. Like, I don't ever bring the certification into the mix. No one has ever asked to see my certification. That's how nuts it is. Like, no one's ever asked, like, what are you certified in? Okay, like, no one, not a single person. And almost every person that I've ever trained recently has been a referral or someone that's like, dude, Whitney's husband is kind of a jack dude. Like, I'll probably take advice from. So anyway, that's pretty much what's going on. It's good to see all you guys there. And yeah, so it's really good to see everybody. I'm really, let me with one last thing. Thanks for here. I always try to make these shows an hour, but they end up going a little bit longer. The last one went an hour and 10 minutes. This one's going an hour and 30 minutes. And it's not because I can't contain my information. It's because I really do enjoy talking to you guys out there and seeing the feed and everything like that. So it really makes me happy to see that people listen and that people are liking the video. So, for the future, if you ever have a really good flip or if you have a triumph from these videos and you're like, oh man, that was such good information or whatever, guys, hit me up on Facebook and just, what you found because of the tip or whatever, just let me know. And, it brings the whole story back full circle. I realize that, now someone listened and they did it all. So yes, you guys are welcome. Killer show. Thank you, Garage Flips, Walking Picker. What's up? Blackhawk Surplus. Thank you so much. Yeah. And Amazon FBA, Treasure Hunter. Yeah. So thanks a lot, guys, for being here. And thanks for keeping it all super positive and good comments and good questions. And I'll see you Thursday. And that more than likely will be Thursday next week. So I'll definitely see you guys then. It'll be episode 3 of How to Garage Sale for Profit Q&A as well. Take it easy, guys. Bye.